Right now, at this very moment, there are thousands of people trying to steal your money, your identity, and wreak havoc on your life. They want to get rich at your expense, and their schemes never sleep. Do I have your attention? I hope so. My name is Ryan Burns, the cyber guy, and over the next few minutes, I'm going to be talking about cyber crimes, cybersecurity, and what you can do to prevent yourself and your organization from becoming a cyber victim.
Wait,
First up,
Ryan, what are you doing without me?
Oh no, Hacker Hank, everyone's favorite cyber criminal.
Ryan, you know a few things about cyber crimes, but I've been thriving in those digital streets since the internet was just a little baby that Al Gore put to sleep with a little bottle at night. You need some real insider information.
Well, okay, Hank. Thank you, sort of, for coming back. Back to where I was. What is cybersecurity and why does it matter? Let's answer the second question first. In 2021, cyber crimes cost Texans over $600 million. Just 1 year later, in 2022, Texas moved to number 2 in the nation for complaints, losing over $1 billion due to cyber-related crimes. That's billion with a B.
Yep, my cronies and I have been doing strong work out there. And you know who our biggest target was? The public sector.
I know, meaning cities and organizations just like you.
Yep, taking it to the man.
Cyber crimes and cyber criminals aren't just fodder for fiction novels and movies. They are real. And with numbers like this, you can see the importance of awareness training. By going through trainings just like this one, it helps to reduce human errors that can lead to data loss or compromise. It helps employees to more readily identify threats and respond appropriately. It fosters a culture of information security within the organization, enables trained employees to avoid financial impacts from data breaches such as remediation costs and legal fees. And it helps build trust with our constituents by demonstrating a commitment to data protection. So back to the first question, what is cybersecurity?
I know a bit about that. How to hack, but also how to stop hackers just like me.
So please remind everyone why such a vile and notorious hacker like you would be willing to help us out.
Sure, Ryan, I've been hacking ever since I was a little boy. When I hacked the Pac-Man game at my local arcade to give myself the highest score. I've been hooked on hacking ever since, but when it comes to hacking cities, I've just gotten bored. I've been using the same old tricks for years, and I need a new challenge. I want cities to level it up. Plus, I have a lot of enemies in the biz, and they're all getting rich way too easily. So I'm sharing all my tried and true method in hopes cities will wise up and shut off the funnel that's funding my foes.
That's very generous.
Don't get used to it, Ryan. I want to fund my trips to the Bahamas, but stop all those 2-bit hackers from their beach vacations.
Okay, so let's talk about cybersecurity, which is the practice of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access. First, we're going to talk about the types of data in your organization so we know what we're protecting.
And stealing.
Not if we're doing things right. Second, we'll discuss the 4 pillars of cybersecurity.
The towers I love to topple.
Third, we'll discuss common cyber threats.
My personal playground.
But also best practices to avoid them.
Made me work for it, Ryan.
And finally, how to respond and report a crime if it does occur. You ready, Hank?
A good hacker's always ready, Ryan.
The first step for information security is knowing what types of information you have and what you're responsible to protect. There are 5 major levels of information. The least sensitive level is public information. It's typically general information about your city, number of employees, address.
Boring. Everybody knows this stuff. I can't really make money off of it, Ryan.
Right. It isn't sensitive and wouldn't hurt you if it was disclosed, so it requires very little protection. With each rising level, the data becomes more sensitive and requires more consideration and layers of protection. Proprietary information is information that gives you the competitive advantage that you don't want the world to know. Private information relates to employees or sensitive policies, great for HR to know, bad for hackers to steal. Confidential information is data that helps within the organization, but that you might not want competitors to find out. The highest is your sensitive data. This is the information that could truly harm your city or organization if disclosed, and therefore requires the highest integrity and the most limited access.
I can make money off every level above public. It sells on the dark web like candy. Or I can use it to ransom your organization and make you pay me to get it back. It's a blast.
So take an inventory of what information you have access to and what you're doing to protect it. Or better yet, what you should be doing.
I love data. And as they say, data is knowledge and knowledge is power. And power is money in my pocket. Money I can spend when I go to Barbados every year. Now I can hack this data at lots of levels, but there are 4 main pillars. Think of these as doorways into your organization. There's the machine level. These are your physical devices. Say you lose your phone or a laptop. I find it, boom. Or if you've got a hacker in your workplace and you leave your workstation unattended, boom, we've got you again. I'll hack your machine in a number of ways. Weak passwords, obsolete antivirus software, unprotected flash devices, lack of controls when you're on a public network, or lack of administrator controls that would prevent me from tossing on a fun little malware program.
Next up, the data level. This is the data itself, stored on a hard drive or in the cloud. Most employees aren't aware of how much data they have or where it's all stored. But what happens when a hacker holds it for ransom? Or it gets completely wiped out? Is it backed up? Is it protected? Organizations put their data level at risk when employees aren't aware of the data created and the cost of losing it. Off-site backups aren't done or not done regularly. Employees don't believe their data is valuable enough for an attack, or data isn't encrypted to protect it from hackers.
You know, Ryan, I'm not above dumpster diving for old computers, just to see what data I can find on those tossed out hard drives.
Why does that not surprise me, Hank?
Next up is the network level. If I can hack your network, I can get to every connected computer and its data. No computer is an island these days, Ryan. We're all connected. This stuff is much easier to hack when there isn't a firewall or antivirus software. You aren't doing scans that search for my malware, meaning my evil software will have longer to do its thing. There are no off-site backups. That way I will know you'll pay me lots of cash to get your data back. Or there are no administrator controls on networks. And finally, my best friend, the internet level, connecting all the world's knowledge and computers and data. And if you're not careful, when and where you connect, boom, I'm gonna get you. You think you're just having a little latte and doing some work, but I'm stealing a latte of your information while you're just sipping on your little coffee.
That's a good one, Hank.
Thanks, Ryan. I've worked on that one for a while.
Your internet level is at risk when your organization has no controls over when and where team members connect to the internet. Public Wi-Fi is used continuously with no regard for risks. Administrators do not limit access or control. Work devices are used away from the workplace repeatedly, or employees are simply unaware of the risks. Now, Hank, tell us how you and your friends actually hack in and commit these crimes.
Happily, Ryan, but don't call the other hackers my friends. I'm a lone wolf on the prowl for data. I want your information, or sometimes I just want to mess everything up and watch your world burn.
That's messed up, Hank.
Hackers gonna hack, brother. But hackers like me can hurt in a number of ways. We can steal your information, modify it, or I can just gain access and do whatever I want. My criminal mind loves all of these. After I have it, I can sell it for a profit, I can ransom your organization, or I can do really mean things like make all of your direct deposit paychecks go into my bank account. Basic stuff, Ryan.
He's right, and he's a threat. So let's look at the definition. A threat is the potential targeting of a network or system in an attempt to damage, harm, or disrupt its capability to operate. This targeting can potentially impact the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of your organization's data. All right, so who is a threat actor? Besides Hank here. Well, it's anyone who tries to exploit vulnerabilities in an organization's system or users. They want to profit, financial or otherwise, damage the victim or organization, either financially or reputationally, gather data to trade it or sell it, or, in his case, just evil curiosity. We don't often know why threat actors choose the crimes they do, but we have to be on the ready.
I can tell you why I do it, Ryan. You ever had a Mai Tai in Jamaica? I don't need any other reason than that.
So, Hank, what does a cyber attack look like?
As a cyber criminal, our attacks look differently. I'm not going to run up and shout, "Give me all your money." You might just say no, and actual human interaction makes me very nervous. So my attacks look more like an email, a text, a phone call, or even a fake invoice. I'm trying to get information from you, like credit card information, bank accounts, social security numbers, or maybe for you to let me log into your computer remotely. Sometimes it's just an itsy-bitsy link I want you to click on, or an email attachment I want you to open.
So attacks can be emails, phone calls, texts, USB hard drives, Internet of Things devices, or even an old school letter.
Ryan, I've got fancy names for all my schemes, like phishing, when I'm seeing if I can get you to respond to an email with personal information. Vishing, voice phishing rather than using email. Spear phishing, it's a targeted phishing aimed at particular targets. And once the target has been compromised, I use credentials and permissions to explore the entire organization's network. Score, welling, spear phishing for big dogs in your organization. Social engineering, when I use a context or a story to engage you before scamming you. Malware, installing bad programs on your computer. Ransomware, installing bad programs that shut down your computer until you give me what I want, which is typically cash. And one of the newest forms of social engineering, quishing, also called QR code phishing. By creating fake QR codes, I can get users to activate links by simply scanning a QR code with their phone. I even post random QR codes throughout a conference, for example. Attendees believe they are scanning a legitimate code to get information, but are taken to a malicious website where I can steal all kinds of good stuff.
So we've got to always be on the lookout. Here are some things to help you spot a cybercrime before it happens. Strange email link, or one with a mismatched or misleading URL, poor spelling or grammar, requests for personal information, an offer that just seems too good to be true, something that you didn't initiate, requests for money or payments, messages that include threats, or something that just doesn't look right. Just having a healthy skepticism will go a very long way. So you find yourself facing a threat. An email has come into your inbox with a fishy attachment. What do? The most powerful key in your security system is a very simple one: delete. If it's truly important, that person will reach out another way. But if you need to respond, verify the details or situation with a trusted friend. Call someone, but don't call the number in the email. If a scammer is good, that will all be part of the ruse. It's best to call someone at your IT department.
You'd be amazed at what information I can get simply by asking. I love to make it seem like a high-pressure, super time-sensitive matter. Folks love to think they're helping me out of a jam, and they are, helping me go to Jamaica.
Another good one, Hank. You should report everything internally according to your organization's policy. Contact all involved parties, such as contractors or vendors, and report all cybercrimes to law enforcement. Now, let's talk about training and best practices. As a city or organization, you need to make sure that everyone has the right tools, training, and empowerment to help. You need to safeguard against unauthorized access to all your systems and information. Make sure you have strong passwords and policies. Use multi-factor authentication, or MFA, to authenticate users. Sometimes called dual-factor authentication, it requires users to produce at least 2 items from the list of 3 possible factors. Something you know, like a password, passphrase, or login ID, something you possess, like a token or smart ID card, and something that you are, like a fingerprint, retinal scan, or facial recognition. Limit access to work areas and digital data and systems to only the authorized personnel who need access. For someone to get in, they should be required to show identification proving that they belong there. This can be done with a card swipe or token on any door entry system. Another option is to have manned access checkpoints. Electronically lock all devices when not in use. Patch your systems. And train everyone on your policies, like making them watch this video. Right, Hank?
Oh, sorry, Ryan, I fell asleep. I was up all night trying to hack a city with great cybersecurity. I couldn't get in.
So this really does work. Let's talk about best practices for your data. How you store it and dispose of it is very important. Utilize the 3-2-1 method. 3 copies of your data, 2 different types of media, and at least one of those copies off-site. Encrypt your data when possible. Monitor and limit access to only employees who need it. When computers get replaced, make sure you erase or destroy everything possible. I'm talking about reformatting old computers and going full office space on anything else if needed. In this era of working remote, you also need guidance to team members who don't use a conventional office. Cyber threats are everywhere, and remote workers need to be even more aware of how to navigate this new world. Remote workers should always follow your organization's policies and procedures. Use only approved devices, no personal computers. Strictly use your organization's VPN everywhere, especially when using public Wi-Fi. And use your phone's hotspot before public Wi-Fi. Guard your screen when possible. When working from home, make sure your router and all the software is up to date with the latest security and that you're always using a strong password on your personal network. Create a second Wi-Fi network just for work if possible. Lock your device while away, even at home, so family members don't accidentally throw you into a bad network situation. Never leave your computer unattended in public. Never use your work device to access personal accounts like bank accounts, social media, or online shopping. Something else to consider with cybersecurity is that not every threat relates directly to money being stolen from your city or organization. A newer threat that we are seeing a lot is through the use of AI or artificial intelligence.
New methods for stealing data? Tell me more, Ryan.
Yes, private data is the big thing at risk here, not to mention having your organization be subject to legal risks and much more. While AI does offer increased efficiency for repetitive tasks, designing reports or presentations, and even the ability to translate documents into other languages, stakeholders should learn the possible risks before using AI. Some potential risks include errors or inaccurate text or speech, plagiarism or copyright violations, privacy risks including unintended data disclosure, legal or ethical risks, risk to organization if content is unreliable, inaccurate, or discriminatory, and they can create harmful misinformation. For these reasons, you should always follow your organization's policies and procedures. Use of AI can be logged and monitored and only used for approved work. You should always consult your department for a list of approved AI technologies. Never input non-public or confidential data into AI interfaces. Avoid ethical misconduct when using AI-generated material. And always follow policy on disclosure of AI-generated labels, disclaimers, or images.
This is great stuff, Ryan. This is going to keep me and my no-talent cronies out of your data and your life.
All right, now with this training, it's time to take your cybersecurity assessment. Any final words, Hank?
Look, we may seem smart because we live in a dark cyber world, and it sounds computery and complicated, but our most successful crimes aren't smart. They simply feed off people making dumb decisions. Don't let it be you.
Wise words, Hank. Now, good luck on your test. This concludes the 2025-2026 State Certified Cybersecurity Awareness Training Program. We will now begin the 2025-2026 State Certified Artificial Intelligence Training Program. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ryan Burns, Director of Cyber here at the TML Risk Pool. Our mission has always been to partner with local governments to ensure Texas communities are stronger together. And a big part of that strength today comes from how we handle emerging technology. Today, we're tackling a topic that's moving fast: artificial intelligence in the Texas public sector. Presenting with me today is my partner and senior cybersecurity advisor, Mike Bell, who is a longtime practitioner in cybersecurity topics for the public sector.
I'm glad to be here, Brian. As you know, this is a very important topic for our members. And it isn't just another professional development session. This training provides a general introduction to artificial intelligence, or AI, and its use in Texas government. This is a new part of the mandatory State of Texas annual compliance training for the 2025-26 fiscal year. So with that, I'm excited. Let's get started.
To begin, it is important to understand the regulatory framework behind this session. The 89th Texas Legislature passed House Bill 3512, which requires state and local government employees to complete a certified artificial intelligence awareness training program every year. This is in addition to the mandated cybersecurity awareness training that you are all already familiar with. This specific course is designed to meet these new requirements and is fully aligned with the standards set by the Texas Department of Information Resources. It has been approved by the DIR staff to meet their course requirements. Our goal is to ensure that every public sector employee in Texas has a consistent baseline for interacting with these technologies. The purpose of this session is threefold. First, we want to establish a common understanding of what artificial intelligence actually is and what it isn't, so we are all speaking the same language. Second, we'll explain how these tools are specifically used in public sector environments like ours. And finally, we want to clarify the professional expectations for every employee when interacting with these systems. This baseline ensures that we remain compliant with state standards while leveraging technology to better serve our communities. To introduce some of the AI technical fundamentals, I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Brian. When we talk about artificial intelligence or AI, we are specifically referring to systems designed to perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence. But it's a common misconception that these systems think or reason like we do. In reality, most AI generates outputs by identifying patterns in massive amounts of data. And so it's important to remember that because AI relies on pattern recognition rather than true understanding, it does not comprehend intent, context, or ethical nuances. It calculates the most probable response based on its training data, which means it is a support tool meant to assist our expertise, not a replacement for human decision-making. As we look at the tools available, we generally see two main categories. The first is generative AI, tools such as ChatGPT, Copilot, Grok, Gemini, etc. These tools respond to user prompts to produce content like text, summaries, or images. Generative AI can also be used to produce software code. These tools are reactive to user prompts and do not take actions on their own. The second category is agentic AI. These are the systems that are more proactive. They can take actions or make decisions with limited human input. They might trigger workflows or interact with other systems to execute specific tasks. Because agentic AI operates with this level of autonomy, these use cases are inherently riskier than standard generative tools and usually require much more rigorous oversight and controls. As AI tools evolve, we see that some are becoming a combination of both generative and agentic AI functions. For example, some of the newer chatbots, they can discuss a topic using generative technologies, and once a decision or action has been reached, it can then enact an agent to perform that action, such as issue a refund or update a database. Regardless of the type of AI, you should always remember that some uses are riskier than others, and our safeguards must match that level of risk. But we are already seeing these tools being used in public sector. Isn't that right, Ryan?
That's right, Mike. And as we move into practical application, it is vital to understand how these tools actually function in our own environments. AI identifies patterns in large amounts of data and generates outputs based on probability, not necessarily comprehension. As we mentioned earlier, it's important to remember that AI does not understand the meaning behind the data it processes. To make that real, think of AI as an advanced pattern matching engine. Furthermore, AI cannot apply human judgment or determine the correctness of its own work. It might sound authoritative, but it lacks the situational nuance that we, as public servants, bring to our roles. That also means AI cannot tell you when it's wrong. If it produces an incorrect date or draws the wrong conclusion, it won't flag that error on its own. In government work, where accuracy, accountability, and public trust matter, that limitation is critical. AI can assist your thinking, but responsibility for the final decision always remains with the employee. Because of this, AI is strictly a support tool designed to assist our expertise, not a replacement for it. Understanding these limits helps explain why AI is used only in specific ways in government. To understand where AI fits today, it helps to look at how it is already being used across the public sector. One common use is to summarize information. This may include summarizing meeting notes, long email threads, or combining multiple documents into a single, shorter overview for staff review. AI is also frequently used to draft routine content, such as first drafts of internal emails, standard letters, or recurring communications that follow a familiar format. Another common use is assisting with research and data analysis. For example, helping organize background information, identifying themes across documents, or highlighting key points for further review. AI is also used to support administrative and organizational tasks, such as organizing schedules, generating checklists, or helping staff prepare standard forms and templates. In practice, these tools are most often applied to routine, repetitive, or information-heavy tasks that would otherwise take significant staff time. These examples reflect how AI is being used today to support day-to-day government operations. With that context in mind, I'll turn it over to Mike to talk about authorized and appropriate use of AI tools.
So moving into the practical considerations, it's important to note that only employer-authorized AI tools are considered appropriate for government work. This means employees may only use AI systems that have been reviewed, approved, and configured by the organization. Personal accounts or consumer AI tools must not be used for government business, regardless of convenience or perceived usefulness. A critical security concern is data exposure. Using unapproved AI tools can result in sensitive or internal information being stored, processed, or retained outside of government control. In addition, any AI-generated output must be reviewed by a human before it is used. AI may assist with drafting or analysis, but it may never replace professional judgment or accountability. If a tool hasn't been explicitly vetted and approved by the organization, it should not be used with government information. Authorization is not optional, it's a required safeguard. Now that we've established that only vetted and approved AI tools may be used with the government information, it's important to understand why those restrictions are necessary. AI has inherent limitations, and its use may involve risk. These systems do not understand consequences or accountability, and they cannot evaluate the impact of their output. AI may also appear confident while it is still being inaccurate or outdated. It can generate responses that sound authoritative, even when the information is incomplete, incorrect, or no longer current. Another key limitation is that AI lacks human judgment and contextual awareness. It cannot interpret nuance, intent, or situational factors, and it cannot recognize when professional discretion is required. It's also important to recognize that some AI uses are riskier than others. As the potential impact of an outcome increases, whether it's legal, financial, or reputational, the consequences of AI limitations become more significant. Finally, AI use may include data gaps or bias. Because AI systems rely on training data, their outputs may reflect omissions, assumptions, or bias present in that data that was used to train the tool. These risks and limitations are the reason AI must be used carefully and deliberately in government environments. Given the risks and limitations we just discussed, the next step is understanding how those risks are mitigated in practice. First, Mitigation measures should always match the level of risk involved. Lower risk uses require basic safeguards, while higher risk uses demand stronger controls. One foundational mitigation measure is the human review of AI outputs. AI may assist with drafting or analysis, but a person must always review the output before it is used. For higher risk uses, oversight and approval are required. As the potential impact of an AI-assisted task increases, so does the need for management review and formal authorization. Another key mitigation measure is to verify facts independently. AI output should never be treated as the primary source of the truth. Important details must be confirmed for accuracy. Also, if AI use begins to produce negative impacts, the protocol should be to immediately halt its use. An example might be when an AI tool omits an important exception to a list of requirements, or it references outdated rules or policies. In addition to mitigation measures, it's critical to understand that some uses of AI are prohibited by law. This includes practices such as the social scoring of individuals, where AI is used to rank or evaluate people in ways that affect rights, services, or opportunities. An example of this might include using AI to aggregate prior code violations or complaints into a single score that is used to then set inspection priorities or audits. It also includes identifying individuals using biometric data without consent, which is restricted under Texas and federal law. An example of this might be, in most governmental contexts, using AI facial recognition to identify employees or visitors who violated COVID health rules would be an improper use of biometric data. All AI use must comply with state and federal regulations, as well as any internal policies. To wrap up with our core principles and final takeaways, I'll hand the floor back to Ryan.
Thank you, Mike. As we move toward the conclusion, let's look at the pillars of responsible use. First, responsible use requires meaningful human oversight. AI may assist with tasks, but it should never operate independently or replace human responsibility for decisions or outcomes. Transparency is also essential. Employees should never conceal or misrepresent the use of AI when it has assisted in producing work or supporting a process. We also have a responsibility to ensure accuracy and fairness. AI outputs should be monitored over time for errors, unintended bias, or inconsistent results. Along with accuracy, protecting privacy and security is critical. One of the most important rules is this: never enter personal, confidential, or sensitive information into an AI tool unless it has been explicitly approved for that purpose. Always follow your organization's AI policies, and remember that accountability ultimately rests with the organization and its employees, not the software provider. With those principles in mind, let's wrap up with our final takeaways. To summarize the core of what we've discussed, artificial intelligence is a tool that can support our work when used appropriately, but it is not a substitute for our professional judgment. It is very important that we understand the risks and limitations of these systems, particularly their lack of human context. It is a critical point that both mitigation measures and legal restrictions, such as the ban on social scoring, apply to our daily work. Ultimately, responsible use in the public sector requires constant oversight and individual accountability. If you ever have a question about a tool, pause and seek guidance before proceeding. Anything else that you can think of, Mike?
No, I think this has been a great start in helping people understand some of the risks, benefits, and challenges to using AI in the public sector.
Yeah, I agree. This concludes the mandatory AI training as mandated by Texas Government Code 2054.5193. Thank you for your time and for your commitment to the Texas communities that we serve.